the Solamar Hotel has been renamed the Margaritaville Hotel. There are a number of hotels around the country called Margaritaville hotels in Las Vegas and Orlando, and it's all creating, behind that Jimmy Buffett vibe of his fans, the parrotheads, and it's really a remake of a very successful hotel in downtown San Diego. The Solamar underwent a $31 million renovation across all 235 rooms. They expanded the pool deck to over 7,000 feet. They redid the restaurants and kind of put it in the vibe of Jimmy Buffett. And the Jimmy Buffett brand sells well in San Diego. In fact, Jimmy Buffett inaugurated Snapdragon Stadium in May with the first concert. So it is kind of propitious that this was launched at this time because of San Diego being what they consider an outside city. Would be a much more successful kind of urban resort. And in it, they remade everything. New bar, new restaurant. The bar is it's 5 o'clock somewhere bar, in terms of the famous Jimmy Buffett song. The Landshark restaurant, which replaces the J6 and the Solamar. All these locales are going to have music at the pool, at the restaurant, at the bar, anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week. JMI Realty, which is owned by John Moores, the former owner of the Padres, they're the ones who put in the $31 million of investment. And the trust is very excited because they're not only opening this hotel in downtown San Diego, but they've had plans on the books to open another Margaritaville hotel in Mission Bay. That hotel has been stalled with the Coastal Commission due to some violation of access rules. That has been recently resolved, and the trust that owns the hotel is going to go before the Coastal Commission next month to see if they can get approval. So there may be 2 Margaritaville hotels in San Diego, and for both tourists and locals to enjoy. Employers added about 187,000 jobs, and which is above expectations. And however, the unemployment rate kind of ticked up to 3.8%, which is a little faster than most economists thought. But what's interesting is at 3.8%, we're still at a 50-year low in terms of unemployment. And a couple of very good signs during this unemployment report. The labor force participation rate ticked up to 62.8%. That means that we are almost at the same labor force participation rate that we were before the pandemic. And what we saw is that most sectors were kind of flat, with the 3 or 4 sectors really seeing good growth: leisure and hospitality, healthcare, social assistance, and construction. One of the things they look for in the jobs report is wage growth. Wage growth was 4.3% this month. That is well below 5.5% during kind of the peak of that inflationary time and during the pandemic. But the declines have kind of slowed down to a glacial pace. So the Fed really would like to see wage growth around 3.5% because that will support their 2% inflation target. But there's a couple of clouds on the horizon. From a consumer perspective, which represents 2/3 of the GDP, we saw in August that credit card debt increased to over $1 trillion. And then lastly, we're seeing both mortgage rates and gas prices, mortgage rates at 20-year highs, and gas prices coming into the Labor Day weekend a little higher than before. But overall, where economists are really hanging their hat on is general economic growth. We had a really good first half of the year, much higher than expected. The third quarter growth rate is targeted to be over 3%. So bottom line, the Fed anticipates that we're probably not going to hit a recession, and that's both good for workers and business demand. So it's a good entry point for the Fed meetings later in September. They'll have the inflation report, which will be the last piece of information they need, and we end the summer on a high note.